Hello, it's me, Goose. It hasn't been that long, okay? It hasn't been that long. I literally like 2 weeks ago put up a Concord video, but it's long enough, I guess. But I wanted to again express my gratitude to the new subscribes and the support on all of my YouTube videos. I know my offerings are small, they're honest work. It's honest work. Thank you all for subscribing and leaving comments and stuff like that. I really do appreciate it. All right, with that out of the way, let's talk about.
Star Wars, nothing but Star Wars.
Thanks, Jeremy Johns. Love your channel. Here we go. Fucking nightmare discuss Star Wars on YouTube because you get those people, and I don't want that. The last weeks have been not great, and I don't feel mentally strong enough to deal with that. So I instead want to focus on something a little bit more positive. Something it's positive, but a little bit of a critique as well. Yes, see, it's not all going to be sunshine, kitten cats, and rainbows. And I still do want to talk about Star Wars, and that is creativity. Creativity. Star Wars is hella creative. It is very creative. I like to imagine George Lucas and Steven Spielberg and co, back in the late 60s, early 70s going forward. And they were just thinking about this. I know they were watching several movies and reading several books that were inspired to lead into making Star Wars. But could they have imagined that in like almost 50 plus years or more than 50 years, I guess, that what this small little sci-fi romp will become this multi-billion-dollar franchise. I would say trillion. I wouldn't say trillion. It's not that much, but multi-billion franchise. And Star Wars is great. Star Wars is great in the way that it is such a massive lore. Like there's so many characters and there's so many stories and there's just so much to do in Star Wars. And for some reason, Disney just does not want to do anything with it. They just don't. They just don't want to do anything with it. And it's kind of frustrating because when you can imagine something that's powerful as the Force and the Jedi and the Sith, and I guess whatever third, fourth, fifth, whatever power is out there, and you have this giant toy box of characters and themes and plots and stuff, and the people that hold the keys to all that feel like, no, the children yearn for more Yoda. They yearn for him. And you're like, but can we talk about this character who does this, or this character does this, or this family that does this, or this kingdom that does, or this timeline does this? And like, no. It has to lead directly to Skywalker. It must go to Skywalker. Well, can we just go like maybe 500 years into the future, or 300 years into the future, or maybe 100 years in the future? And they're like, no. There must be connections to Skywalker at all costs. And you're just like, this is boring. That's me. That's where I'm at. I'm at that spot with Star Wars where it's like I don't want to watch goddamn anything involving Star Wars anymore if it's gonna be 20 years, 5 weeks, 5 minutes, five Dewey Decimal Systems away from fucking Luke and Anakin and Leia and the crew. I don't care anymore. I don't care. And if anything, I'm kind of what I'm going to call myself a waist deep fan of Star Wars. Like I've watched some of the shows, played some of the games, know some of the lore, like some of the characters. I appreciate Star Wars for its nearly what I guess not nearly 50 years of impact on pop culture. The significance of Star Wars, the love of the fans, not always necessarily the hatred and the vitriol from the fans, but a lot of love and creative devotion that the Star Wars brand has united with people all over the world. Like, there's just there are a person on this planet that has not been touched by Star Wars. I'm going to be completely honest with you. There's just not going to be anybody. And I respect that. I respect having that sort of impact on so many people's lives, so many fans' lives, and I think that's really cool. I think that's a beautiful thing to have. But Star Wars has been not in a great space for the last decade or so. Some would argue it hasn't been a great space for the last 25 years or so. And I can't speak for them. Like I said, I am waist deep fan. I'm a waist deep fan of Star Wars. But I can tell you my experience with Star Wars has always been, I think it's neat. I like the lore. I like the lightsabers, the whoosh whoosh. I like the force powers. I like the costumes and planets and hot aliens and the starships and cool. I like the idea. I love that type of that shit is neat. That shit is hot. Um, so I'm coming from this as a person who is a waist deep casual fan of Star Wars. And I think that's a perspective that's kind of lost in a lot of discussions about Star Wars. It's either going to be with the super diehard fans that brand themselves with the, Darth Vader symbol, whatever, or the dumb yo-yo baby normies that only came in because they like Mandalorian. And it's not a lot of talk and conversation about people who are like me, who are just in the middle. Who just exist in the middle of Star Wars, where they like it and they see the problems and they recognize both sides of the issue. So that's kind of where I'm coming in. I am coming in like that. And I know because Star Wars is such a garbage topic to discuss on YouTube. I mean, just the state of it. I want to paraphrase this by saying again, these are my thoughts. These are my opinions. These are my opinions, again, as the waist deep fan of Star Wars. You are free to disagree with it. That's perfectly fine, especially if you know more or watched more, or whatever. I'm not going to fight you on that. I, again, am coming from, let's start. My feelings for Star Wars is that currently it's shit. Coming in hot. I'm coming in real hot with this. It's shit. It's shit not for reasons why you might think it's shit. It's shit because Disney did exactly what I feared Disney was going to do when they acquired Lucas Films. They are going to run it into the earth. And they did. Disney only understands access. They only understand access. They just say, if you like a thing, we're going to give you 9 million parts of this thing. And we're going to give it to you back to 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 back. And we won't let you have a time to breathe. The beauty of Star Wars in its, entirety is that I know I can't speak from the 70s going to 80s because I was born in 84, but I can believe that there was a Star Wars mania. I believe they had toys and figures and, Star Wars on ice and shows and everything. So there was sort of a blitz going on there. But from my understanding, it was spaced out. Like there were dormant years in Star Wars where you could only get Star Wars content in like small bite-sized chunks. You would get an occasional like spin-off movie in the mid 80s, early 90s, but you were mostly relegated to like card games, comic books, novelizations, a cartoon here or there, nothing like the blitz that Disney has done with the brand. And so because there's so much, you're so inundated with Star Wars stuff, you don't get a chance to miss it. And I think that's something that Disney doesn't really understand. They don't understand nostalgia is only as potent as further away are you from it. Like the further you are away from something, the more the nostalgia, the member berries, the juice is sweeter. They just want to shove this in your face consistently. So I'll use case in point. I was, my God, it was what, 99? Man, I was in a sophomore in high school when they started talking about the new trilogy, the prequel trilogy, and that was massive. People lost their fucking shit that there was going to be new Star Wars movies because there hadn't been any. Like you only had, the Old Republic video games and, some games here and there and comic books and like I said, the aforementioned card games, stuff like that. But brand new movies? Holy crap, talking about Darth Vader? What the shit? It was insanity. You literally would have to have been there to understand how batshit people went over the idea there was going to be any kind of new cinema content in regards to Star Wars. And it was massive. It was massive. It was, you felt really happy to see, some of the surviving actors of Star Wars reprising certain roles, allusions to some things that were in, I believe, in the extended universe, canon. Like there was just a lot of excitement over it. And I think a lot of people forget that the prequels were not exactly super well received. It's just that at the point where those prequels were coming out, Star Wars went from being just those three movies that was back in the 70s and 80s to being like the global icon for cinematic universe stuff, right? Okay, like it had a good 20 plus years of of uh, of just being part of pulp culture. So when the prequels came out, it was never going to actually be one for how it was when the first three movies came out. But it did set off a new situation for a lot of people who were like, yeah, my dad watched the original trilogy. My grandpa watched the original trilogy. Now I have my own trilogy. And that was kind of the cool thing about Star Wars. It's the cool thing of watching that happen. And for a lot of young normies who were just getting into Star Wars because their dad got into it, their grandma got into it, they're now sitting with their loved ones and their friends and family, and they're at ground zero too. Literally everybody at that point that was not like super deep in Star Wars or casual fan Star Wars, everyone was at the same point. They were at point zero. They were now at the birth of Darth and the birth of Luke and Han and Leia. And they were right at point zero. So everyone was able to jump off and explore more Star Wars at this point. And that's what happened. A lot of people who watched Star Wars like, holy shit, is there more? Is there more about this Darth Plagueis guy? Is there more about, these planets? Is there more about the Sith? What the fuck is the Sith? Is there stuff about them? Like felt energized to go in and read up on all this lore. And it was fun watching, of course, you had the super uber geeks that were gatekeeper assholes. But I like to believe that there are a lot of people who were older Star Wars fans who did read those books and comics and everything that were eagerly happy to bring in the young blood because that's how fandoms survive. I know a lot of people who are older like me like to believe that it's the old heads that keep fandoms going. That's not necessarily true. It's a collective effort of young and old. The old people need to pass on a lot of their information, their experience, their history with the fandoms, the young folks, so they can carry the thing forward. There's a reason why certain franchises and fandoms still exist today and certain ones that don't. Catch my drift? Wink, wink. I probably put some examples on here so you guys get the idea. But nevertheless, in that interim of the prequels, there was a lot more content. It was a boom of content. There was more, prequel stuff. How about, Anakin, in his younger years and Padme in younger years and Obi-Wan in younger years and the new character Ahsoka and all these other new villains and heroes and icons and legends and all types of newer stuff that were coming in. And we were being fed, if you wanted to know more about Star Wars, you could learn about Star Wars, and it was fine. And the best part about that era of Star Wars is that, again, this content was spaced out. It was spaced out. It was not all over the place. It was spaced out. You had years in between it. And sometimes, that left you with some really high quality content stuff and some not so high quality content stuff, but you were still given the chance to like breathe. You could breathe. That's not happening. That's not happening when Disney came in and then they bought Star Wars from Lucas, and then Disney said, we're just going to go ahead and do it our way, essentially. And so they looked at the fandom and they didn't see fans. And that's what I think. I think for Disney, they did not see Star Wars fans. They saw them as dollars. And that's not surprising. Disney is a multi-billion-dollar company. Of course, they're going to see people as checks and balances. None of that surprises me. But this is where the problem comes in, because they did not see the fans as people, no matter how annoying and whatever they are. They thought that they could throw anything at the fans, literally any fucking thing. And we get to the new trilogy. We just gonna, God, I'm not gonna go in depth with the new trilogy. If you want to find out more about the new trilogy, there's 19 billion YouTube essays about that. This is not what I'm talking about. But the new trilogy also had the same effect as the prequel trilogy, where it brought in a lot of younger fans, a lot of young fans that, again, grew up with their older sibling or their mother and father or their cousins and uncles and grandpas and grandmas on Star Wars. And now they are getting a direct continuation of those movies with these younger characters. And even though The Force Awakens was pretty much, a remember Betty retread of like the first movie with some, whoopsie daisies going in there, it still was fun. I still enjoyed my time watching it because I never really watched the first trilogy until after I watched the prequels. Like I knew what Star Wars was. I just was not interested in it until after I saw the prequels, and then I watched the old ones, the first series, and like I got it. And so we were on the road to something that could be great, but then we start seeing the problems. And the problems was this was Disney post purchasing the Marvel company, and they started doing the Disney, which is we're going to go ahead and go through stuff and just rebrand and retrain and merchandise blitz everything. And when you turn a franchise into a content machine and there's not enough quality and not enough Q&A behind the scenes, even your most casual fans will get burned out. And that's what happened. The Last Jedi came out, and I didn't really like it that much. I felt it was kind of mean to a lot of characters. I didn't get it, but I liked some of the ideas. I really liked some of the things that they were that Rian Johnson was introducing. But overall movie, I did not like as much as I liked Force Awakens. However, one of the things I really did like what Rian Johnson set up in Last Jedi was the idea that anybody could become a Jedi. I thought that was a really good idea to have for younger kids to have this idea that you didn't have to come from some super secret, magical, destined bloodline. You could just be an orphan kid, in a stable who just Force brings a broom to their hand and just does their thing and not understand any of the power that person might have. And I thought that was a really good way for Disney to explore more Star Wars, because the problem that I've run into with Star Wars, and again, putting out there, I'm a waist deep fan, is that they have been ass to mouth attached to the Skywalkers. Just ass to mouth. They just human centipede to, that's a disturbing thing. They have been connected to this family and this family's drama for 50 something years. And what Star Wars and the extended universe and all the other things have done has established that there is a galaxy of characters, of cultures, of backgrounds and stories that could be mined, that just could be, you could go in there and you could just eat it up. You could just devour it. But Disney is thinking with Disney billionaire brain set and saying people only like Darth Vader. Darth Vader only. We stick with Darth Vader. And it's like, Darth is cool. We love Darth. He's awesome. But there could be some potential other villains or antagonists. There's some more. We can make more characters. We can do more. The thing is, you can do more. It's like being put in a room with a shit ton of toys, and there are people saying, "Look at all these toys," and then your parents come in there and gives you a ball, and you can only play with that ball. And that's what Disney has done. Disney has attached themselves up to the member berries so much that they refuse to get curious and explore outside of the Skywalker family. And so when we got to, when it said Jesus, the rise of Skywalker, yeah, it went status quo. It went right back to the Palpatine and Skywalker bloodline, chosen power thing. And amongst the many issues with the new trilogy, and that there was no plan, there was no map of how they were going to do anything. It just fell apart. And so you're stuck with a series of movies that made a shit ton of money, which is what Disney really cared about, but ultimately poisoned, I think, the brand as a whole. And representation matters. I'm going to put this in quotes, in air quotes. Representation matters. I'm not going to, again, get super duper in the weeds about Kathleen Kennedy and the Force is female and all that other shit. There's, again, millions of chances for you to look at and talk about that. But I'm bringing this from an outside's perspective. I get what Kathleen was trying to do. As a person that identifies as female, I get what they were trying to do. Did she get a little bit more of herself into these movies? Probably. I don't think there's any different than any guy would do it. But there comes to a point where we're looking at rep and we're not looking at characters. And that's a problem. That's a problem. I'll take time to make a character stand out. I feel I know that's not sounding like it makes a lot of sense. I'm sorry in advance for not a lot to discuss. I get what Kathleen was trying to do. I really do. I like the idea of a multi-billion-dollar franchise with a powerful female lead is too good to resist. It's too good because there really isn't a lot of franchises that do that. I think the only other franchise that has a female lead fronting $1 billion, I think, is like Resident Evil. I think the movie franchise. I believe that's the only one. I don't think Underworld is in there. Maybe Twilight franchise. So there's not that many franchises that I can off the top of my head that is primarily led what female led. So I get the idea of seeing the opportunity and taking it, but I also feel that there wasn't a lot of care that was done with it. And this is symptomatic not just because of Kathleen, but of just Disney not really caring about the fans. They just said, yeah, Kathleen, you gave us 3 million that grossed, 3 movies that grossed $1 billion each. You can do whatever you want. We don't care about what the fans have to say. We don't have to care what the fans have to feel. And in fairness to Disney, a lot of fans were pieces of shit. Okay. A lot of the sexist, racist, homophobic, transphobic, assholes out there that spoiled the bunch for a lot of people, a lot of disingenuous fans that are out there, that help color the Star Wars fandom as being just the worst place to deal with. And that sucks. That really sucks. It sucks that you can't have critique about this franchise without being put in those two groups. Either you love Star Wars completely, absolutely to the end of yourself, or you go woke, go broke, put the man back in Star Wars, that kind of shit. And it's not helpful. And that's not helpful. And now find out there's some sort of initiative that Disney seeks to get fandom focused groups to watch content before it comes out to gauge and see what exactly will be a success or that be failure due to how these fans will react. And that's a terrible idea. That's an absolutely terrible idea. Mostly because, like with a lot of things, fans are not a monolith. Who are you going to get to view this particular content and see if the fans will like it? You have people, and again, here I am. You have people who are like me, who are waist deep fans, who like some of the newer stuff and don't like some of the newer stuff. And then you have people who are either, slavishly devoted to the newer stuff and think it's the best thing ever. And then you have people out there who hate every mention of Star Wars at this point. Who do you get to gauge this? Because if you don't want to get a bunch of grifter bros who are going to be angry that they see one person with one drop of melanin show up on screen, and you don't want to get a bunch of fans out there who are just going to clap like a lion seal at any kind of whoosh and Darth Plagueis mention here and there. So who do you get to do something like that? That's the problem when you're saying I'm going to create things geared towards fans. You have to be a little bit more cautious when you're making your content, because if you make something quote unquote for the fans, you run the risk of alienating everybody else. And that's why it's a very careful, tightrope walk for creators and story writers and even businesses to deal with, because you have a lot of people who are like, you have to have money men. You have money men who want to see the line go up. And they're going to think to themselves, oh, well, angry bald male Star Wars fan number 273 doesn't like this because this person uses a pronoun and they don't like that. But you also have, super fan number 73 with the blue hair who's like, well, you don't like this because you don't like that the person has that pronoun. And then you have people like me in the middle who's like, well, I just want a good story. I don't give a shit about any of this. I just want a good fucking story. So what does Disney do? What does Disney do? And here's my thoughts on what I think Disney should do. And I'm going to use real life examples to help illustrate my point. Fallout came out early this year, and I know very little about the Fallout universe. I don't know. I know there's a guy as a Pip Boy, and they're in like it's Americana, and there's a nuclear wasteland, and there's like mutant zombie monsters out there, and corporate America and stuff like that. That's all I know. That's all I know. I like the design of Fallout. I think that's really cool. And I know Todd Howard. I know Todd Howard. And that's all I really know about Fallout. So when I heard it was going to make a Fallout TV show, I was like, well, this is not for me. I have no interest in this. I don't play a Fallout. I don't know a Fallout, that well. I'm not interested in it. But my bro, shout out to Yikes Reviews, go follow him. He's cool. Watched the show, and he was like, this is a great fucking show. And I was like, ooh, okay. Maybe I'll poke, maybe I'll peek. And I'll be honest with you, I only watched the Fallout TV show because I am a big fan of Enemies to Lovers. And I follow a lot of people who are also fans of Enemies to Lovers. And they were talking about Lucy and Ghoul. I was like, well, there you go. That's my weakness. And I watched the Fallout show, and I devoured it. I consumed it like I was part of the Borg. I ate the fuck out of the Fallout TV show. And I am delighted. Now I learned that Macaulay Culkin's going to join the cast, and I am screaming. My 90s heart is screaming, like, who is he going to be? Can't wait. But I use Fallout as an example because, by all intents and purposes, Fallout is every single thing that woke bros hate. There's a strong female lead. There is queer mentions. There are, heartfelt stories. The whole thing that they hate. However, the acting performances are great. The writing is great. The set dressing and the lore is great. I mean, I was told by a couple of people who are Fallout fans that there's some changes here and there, but they make sense because they're this is own thing. And the whole entire package is well made. It's obviously made by people who genuinely love Fallout and respect the lore and the fans of Fallout. That they know they're not going to get every single fan of Fallout to love the show, but they are going to still make a very entertaining product that a good number of Fallout fans are going to like the show. And that's what they did. If they got someone like me who has no interest in Fallout whatsoever, but is cognizantly aware of its existence to adore the show, imagine if you gave someone that gave a fuck like that for Star Wars. Imagine. And I like to believe there's a lot more people who are like me out there, and not as much as there are of the Uber fans or the people that like Baby Yoda. Okay, I'm somewhere in the middle. And sometimes we get neglected. Sometimes people just only focus on that we like Baby Yoda and the people who know about Darth.
Sack of bambastic.
And it's kind of like, oh, well, I mean, yeah, I guess I figure I should say something about it because I feel like how a lot of people feel. I need Disney to get together. Get the fucking together. You have been given a gift. You have been given a gift of like infinite money glitch. It is an infinite money glitch. A YouTube channel, I believe, I don't get his name right. Friendly Space Ninja, proposed that there was something with Star Wars called instant iconography. I could be wrong. I'm going to double check. I'm going to put it out on the screen. Everyone just look at that and follow that person's channel. But they were right. Star Wars has this ability to have instant iconography where you can literally give someone, literally a nameless person, Jeff Stargrazer or, Marina the Diamonds, Llewellyn Venus, whatever, and give her a lightsaber, and she will become a popular character. Like it just don't even matter because there's so many elements in Star Wars that is made for you to mod with, made for you to insert yourself, made for you to explore with. And you can get into really dark themes. And Star Wars has a lot of dark themes, especially I guess if you read any of the books, they would have a lot of really dark themes in there. And Disney refuses to do that. They refuse to explore them. And when they do explore them, like in case with the Acolyte, it's not done really well. It's just not done well. The vision is there. The execution is not. And no matter how brilliant your vision is, if you can't execute it, then it just falls flat. And I think that's what happened with the Acolyte. Um, Star Wars needs to get their shit together. They need to get together. And as a person who's a waist deep fan of Star Wars, I feel that it's my duty to point out that I think we're all tired of Star Wars. Not Star Wars. We're all tired of Skywalker. We're done. We're all tired of it. We're tired. We're tired. Okay. You know, it's cool to go back and think about Darth Vader and Leia, Han and Luke and Chewie and everything. But the children yearn for newness. And I mean this specifically, the children. Because while the characters I mentioned are iconic and why they are, sellable merch, and that's, I'm not going to stray that. We are losing the actors that play them. And this mocap thing is not really picking up as we thought it was going to be. Okay. It just ain't working. All right. These people are not going to be here much longer. And so you kind of have to ask yourself, what else can we explore? What else can we explore with these original set of the Star Wars characters? Why can't we just go ahead and just make a brand new set? And I think that's what the new trilogy was supposed to establish. But then Disney got scared. They got scared and they said, oh no, we're going to have to tie it all back. Yeah. Demote Finn to just being the black guy. And, Poe is just that smuggler, and let Rey be the Messiah. They did a lot of shit. And it really affected the longevity of these characters. Like, yeah, I still love Finn, Poe, and Rey. I still love them very much. But they're wasted potential. And even if you do anything with Rey, part of the big thing with Rey was, this may seem very, anti-feminist, was that she was in love with Ben and you killed them. So I don't think the Reylos are going to show up for that. I don't think the Reylos are going to show up for that. They're just not going to show up for that. There's not enough people who like Rey on her own to support a new movie trilogy, and there is no shipping fuel there. So I don't know why you're wasting your time doing that. But that's what Star Wars needs to start considering. Like, Rey is done. She's done. She's done so. Time to make some new people. Time to make some new folks, some new characters, and get away from Skywalker. Get away from all of that, and just start making new characters, making new memorable characters, because that's what we want to see. And that's kind of what happened with the Mandalorian. Mandalorian was what, like 70 years or 40 years or whatever the fuck to the original trilogy's timeline. But Dane Djarin was a new character and had his own issues to work through, and was given the task of, taking care of, Grogu. And that was great. It wasn't revolutionary or anything, but people could follow along with that. They were cool with it. And then subsequently season 2 and season 3 got more and more esoteric with a lot of, here's the Mandalorian and magic and all of the crap came in there. And then you lost people. So if Star Wars, to me, wants to have any kind of future, they need to just start from scratch. Just do 200 years after the Rise of Skywalker and have brand new characters in here. We are 200 years removed from Chewie and everybody, and have you start over. Get a brand new set of cast and characters and have them go on their own journey. And do it like that. That's what I personally think. That is my very uneducated suggestion for Star Wars. I know Disney's not going to do it. Disney is like merchandising machine. They really love money, which is, valid. And they really love the memorabilities of it, which is also, again, valid. But it's killing your brand. It's killing the Star Wars brand. We haven't had a movie in Star Wars for like what, 5, 6 years? Yeah, Andor can't carry it all. Okay, Andor can't carry it all. And I feel personally that if they were to start brand new with brand new characters that don't have any kind of baggage to the new trilogy or have any baggage to the old trilogy, that this can be a way for Star Wars to move forward in the future. Because Disney fucked it up, and that's the only way to fix it. I don't know who they would get to be the characters. I don't get who would be the writers, but they need to think about that. They really need to think about that because we are tired. I am tired. I am tired of this takes place 5 minutes before A New Hope. I'm like, oh my God. Or this is the second sentence in the scroll about the New Hope. I'm like, oh my fucking God. Congratulations on making a, show based on the last paragraph in the scroll. I don't, that's cool and everything, but I don't need to know about the new empire, the republic, or whatever it's on there. Let's make a new one. You either go 500 years in the future or 500 years in the past. Something needs to happen. But we need to get off this time. We need to get off this timeline crazy ride and go into something new. And uh, I don't know how they would do it necessarily. I can give you what I would do. And I'm a note to let everybody know, I am a waist-deep fan of Star Wars. So there's a lot of things and words and stuff I don't know. I'm just going to give you my idea. So I wanted to go ahead and try my hand at making a pitch for a brand new Star Wars show or movie trilogy or something. Just something that is new and accessible for old and new people. And again, I'm specifying this as I am a waist deep fan of Star Wars. Okay, I know who Mara Jade is. I don't know who Darth
Sack-a-bam-baspin
is. Okay, so I'm just bringing in what I know for it. So let's see. Let's set a scenario about 200 years post Rise of Skywalker. The old cast is dead. They are dead. They are dead. They might have descendants. We don't know. Well, right now, this is a brand new set of characters. And we start off with, let's say, two brothers. A brother who is 5 years older, and his younger brother who is, of course, 5 years younger. And they are in a city. It's not really super duper nice and fancy, but it's comfortable. The mother works hard, the father works hard, and the boys live a relatively comfortable life. There hasn't been any major conflicts. They live on a planet that's ruled by a royal family of sorts. But they're very, quote unquote, modern as Star Wars royalty would actually be like. So they are enjoying life and exploring their surroundings. And then one day, the younger brother throws a rock at the older brother. And the older brother's like, what the hell, man? Why are you throwing rocks at me? I didn't mean to. I was just waving my hand around. And he's like, waving your hand around? What does that mean? He's like, yeah, I just waved my hand. And the boy waves his hand, and another rock flies from his from the ground and hits his brother. Like, why are you hitting me with rocks? It's like, I'm not trying to. And so the brother moves to the side of the younger brother and lets the little brother do exactly what he did before. Moves his hand around and he moves the rock. And he's like, whoa, that's really cool. I wonder if I can do that. And the older brother moves his hand, and although he's not able to throw a rock like his brother was able to throw the rock, he was able to move it somewhat. And so the two brothers spend their time just understanding these new abilities, what they're capable of doing. The older brother is able to, throw a rock. He's actually able to do the same thing that his younger brother does. But his younger brother is able to throw a larger rock. And the larger rock accidentally hits the older brother and knocks him out. And he's unconscious for a few days. And he tells his parents what happened. The doctor checked out the older brother over. He's fine. He has a little scar on his forehead, but he's going to be fine. And the younger brother never used his rock throwing power ever again. We fast forward. The young boys are in their teenage years. They are working. They are in, different areas of, government. They're trained to be like soldiers or medics, typical stuff, typical job stuff on there. The older brother is very popular. He's well liked. He's a funny guy. He makes people feel comfortable around him. And the younger brother's a little bit more quiet, a little bit more demure, but he's studious. He's very smart. He's going to get his position by being part of the council to the royal family. That's what he's looking to do. And every now and then the brothers meet up with each other because they're so busy. And the little brother is upset because he hurt his brother. He still feels guilt over the rock hurting his brother. But the older brother laughs and jokes, says, "No, are you kidding me? This scar has gotten me more dates than anything else like that." It's playing it off because the little brother didn't know what's going on. And when the brothers are sitting out on a date, they're drinking, he says, "Can you still throw rocks?" And the older brother says, "Yeah, a little bit." He throws one of the little beer cans. He makes it to a trash can. And the little brother's like, I promise I wouldn't use my power again. He's like, "Come on, man. That's like when we were kids. We're not kids anymore." And he does. And he throws the whole trash can. And it's like, oh. And they run because they just damaged some property. They don't do it again. Fast forward a couple of days later, there's reports that there's some, terrorist activities happening in the city. Things are being vandalized, things are being stolen. People are being abducted. We don't know what's going on. Nobody knows what's going on with everybody. And there is an attack that happened where their father is working, and the brother's like, "Okay, we gotta get the dad. Let's get the dad." And they get to the location, and there's this alien force people. They just like a bunch of ragtag aliens. They don't look like an imposing force or anything. They're just going around destroying stuff, breaking stuff, taking people. And the brothers go up there and they fight. They fight off the aliens. They try to get to their dad. Their dad was only to be taken until the little brother was able to fight off and get the father to safety. And the little brother was able to help by getting as many people to safety in there. And then one of the rebels come after the older brother, and they start fighting, fist fighting. They're punching, they're kicking, anything. And this guy is huge, the big alien rock guy person, he's huge. And the older brother, he's doing what he can to fight him, but he's like small. He can't really take this guy down. And he gets hurt. And the little brother sees what happened, and he's like, he remembers that he was able to throw a trash can. And so he uses his rock throwing power to throw a vehicle crashing into the major alien. The alien is like, "Holy shit." And he goes to his little brother to protect them. And the alien is like, touches the comm link, and he says, "Okay, everybody retreat, 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 retreat." And they all retreat. And a couple of days later, the brothers are talking to dad, they report to the royal family what was going on. Like, yeah, there's these random rogue alien groups that are believing in something called, the Force. Like, what the hell is the Force? Like, I don't know. Nobody's ever heard of that before. But it was an old power from a fringe group of magic users from hundreds of years ago. There was a great conflict that happened, and you can recall the events of the previous Star Wars, the First Order, the Empire, whatever. But it's in the past. It's 200, 300, 400 years ago. It's so old. It's like it's ancient. It's like how we talk about the War of the Roses. It's so far back they don't have any reference to it. And he says, "Do you think that those supposed Jedi still exist?" Like, no. The last Jedi, whoever that person that died 200 years ago, you can allude this to being Rey. We don't know. Again, we're not touching upon it right now. It's the first movie. It's unknown. So the older brother and the younger brother spend some time out, and they're talking to each other like, force powers. Like, is that the stuff we're able to do? And he's like, "I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe we shouldn't use our powers anymore. Maybe we shouldn't talk about it, because they don't want to cause me trouble." He's like, "Yeah, but if I wasn't able to use power, you would have been killed by that alien." And he's like, "Well, hopefully those guys don't come back, or we got to report to the royal family, whatever you need to do. They need to be cautious. They need to be on the down low now." Now, are going on their daily lives, and one of them is approached by some mysterious person that said, "Have you ever wanted to figure out why you're able to throw rocks and stuff like that?" Like, "Well, yeah, I mean, like, sort of, kind of, it's like, "Well, would you like to learn more? I have text I could show you." And he's like, "Yeah, fuck yeah, teach me how to use this shit." The older brother is training with this mysterious stranger who's not revealing himself. He's not taking off. He has a mask on the whole entire thing, and he's learning how to move stuff. And he's focusing, and he's not as good as his younger brother, but he's good. He's good, and a masked person knows that. He knows that the younger brother is a much more powerful, more potent user of the Force than the younger brother. But he wants to get in good with the older brother. And so he trains him a little bit, not as much as he could. And he says, you said you have a sibling that can also do this type of power. He's like, yeah, my little brother, but he's like, he's afraid to use it. He said, bring him along next time. And I was like, all right, I'll bring my little brother on it. And the little brother is immediately on notice. Like, who the fuck is this guy? What? Whomst? Is this person teaching my little brother this kind of things? And the older brother's like, yeah, I know this guy for a couple of days. He seems cool. He knows a lot about the Force. Let's see what else they can do. And so when the masked person is teaching the younger brother, he's seeing how incredibly powerful this kid is. This kid is able to do real damage. Like, he is unrestrained with his ability. And the other one's like, that's impressive. Let's build this lightsaber together. And so the older brother is able to make a functioning lightsaber. There's a little jerky on there. But the younger brother is excelling at this. He is very good at making the lightsaber, the whole entire technique, the craft with everything. And it's obvious that the masked man is teaching the younger brother, and the younger brother is flourishing under the lessons. The older brother is not doing so well. And so there's some jealousy brewing between them. Why not me? Why am I getting these powers? And so the older brother and the younger brother have a little bit of an argument. They get a fight. They get into a little bit of a power struggle. It's not great. And the older brother says, well, maybe I might have had more powers if I wasn't hurt. If I wasn't hurt by, the rock that you threw at me. And that makes the little brother feel more regret, more guilt, because he did hurt him with that rock, and maybe he might have did something. And so the masked man talks to the younger brother and says to him, long ago, there were people who had these powers and they could use them adequately. And then there are people like you who are so in tune with this power because you have more midichlorians within you. And it goes the whole entire spiel, the whole entire thing with the Jedi and the Sith, you know the story, that's what he's talking about. And it's like, once long ago, there was a collective of us, many of us, and we helped shape what you now know as your life. We were part of that. We were foundations of that. And he said, I want you to be with me so we can go ahead and create a new foundation, because there's more of you out there. And together we can find more of us and help rebuild and make a new future. And the little brother's like, will this mean people, have their powers being misused? And he's like, absolutely. And I want to lead you on that way. And so the little brother drops out. He drops out. He's convinced that it's what he needs to do. And, the older brother's not talking to him. And, he's not telling his parents anything. And the older brother's like, yeah, well, do whatever you want. You always do whatever you want anyway. And so, the older brother's going to work. He's doing whatever he needs to do. And he's hearing from, people in the royal family, items from the royal vault. And one of them happens to do these 2 lightsabers. And he's like, wait a minute. 2 lightsabers. And so yeah, there are these ancient artifacts that were used by, these Jedi that are out there. Like, oh, shizzle. That's important. They need to be found. If they're not found, whoever was found with these weapons, they'll be executed. And so the older brother's like, oh, fuck me. So he leaves and tries to find his younger brother. And the younger brother is using the lightsaber. He's not really as good with combat like his older brother is, but he had a lot of force, a lot of strength within him to do it. And the person in the mask is eager. Like, yes, this is perfect. You are going to be so good at doing this. And older brother's like, yeah, get away from him. You get away from my little brother. And he's like, what are you talking about? So he's like, yeah, you stole those sabers. Those sabers belong to the royal family. And it's like, wait, what? What are you talking about, royal? What? No way. And if he's like this, he said, no, they didn't belong to them. They belong to, Skywalker. And you're like, who the fuck is a Skywalker? And he's like, no, tells bro, like, no, listen, you can come over to me. That guy is up to no good. And the little brother doesn't know what to do. He's like, I don't want to upset my brother. But these powers, I want to learn more about them. And, before he's able to walk away, he's frozen. He can't move. He can't get away from the hole for the guy in the mask. The older brother is pissed as hell. Like, what are you doing, my little bro? What are you doing? Starts going ahead and trying to attack the guy in the mask. And, the guy in the mask is just beating the shit out of the older brother. He's doing all types of cool force power, whatever on it. He says this. Say, if you were only a little bit stronger, you could have joined us. And, the older brother's on the ground. He's hurt. And he's like, no, who are you? What are you up to? What do you want from us? And it says, it doesn't matter anymore. You don't matter anymore. And he force pushes the older brother far away, and he falls off a cliff. And the younger brother's like, no, he breaks through the hole and starts laughing at the masked person. Like, he is unleashing all of his strength, everything he can do to just lay waste to, this guy. But because he's not trained, it doesn't last for him. He doesn't have the stamina. So he gets exhausted, and he gets weak. And the masked person said, through pain, you'll go strong. Knocks him out, picks him up, carries him away as a ship lands in the location and carries him away. And he tells him, I said, what about the other one? I thought the other one was good. He said, not yet. Not yet. It's going to be the beginning of the new era. I said, yes, the Jedi will be reborn. And then he flies off with the brother. And the older brother is hanging on to a rock. He manages to not fall to his death and climbs out of the cliff to see the ship blast off in the space of his little brother. And now he's on a quest to save his brother and get some answers. And that is how you start the new series of Star Wars. Now, here's the thing, right? You and I, the Jedi aren't supposed to be bad guys. But again, this is 200, 300 years ago, and 300 years into the future, where these lessons were lost, these names were lost. We don't know what's going on. And that's where the unraveling of the mystery come from, to find out who the Jedi really were, who the Sith really were. That is where you can start with a brand new series, a brand new movie series, a brand new TV series. Starts right there, because the royal family has something to do with it. Who is the royal family? We don't know. We have no answers for it. We can find the answers later on. But going forward, we don't know yet. And just play with it a little bit. But the goal for Disney is that you can start a new journey with new characters, and then references to the old stories, references to the old movies, but everyone starts from zero. They start from zero. And so that's my idea. That's how I would pitch a brand new Star Wars show / movie / something. Disney, I'm giving you this one. I'm giving it to you from my brain, from my mouth hole to you. Here you go. Here is the idea. There's just, and this is just one of many. You can look, it's flexible. You can change the brothers to sisters, cousins, fathers to sons, whatever. But it's new. It's a new characters, new threat, new world, same force powers, whatever going on there. But that's what you do. That's what you do. And so there you go. That is how I would fix Star Wars. That is how I would fix Star Wars. Listen, I'm not claiming this to be the most original idea out there. I'm not claiming this to be like, the most imaginative fucking thing out there, but it's a basic template. It is a setup that will engage the audience for them to get invested into seeing how the story ends. If you want to talk about, long ago, there was a young woman that was afraid of her own bloodline, or talk about Palpatine. You can do that. You can certainly do that. I'm not going to say no to that. But the goal isn't to be new. The goal is to have a fresh start. No attachments. 100% attachments to the old world. We're 200 years in now, so we should just go on from there. And so that's my opinion of what I would do. Let me know what you would do. How you would fix Star Wars. What would you add to make, a new Star Wars? If you could pitch to Disney, how would you do it? How would you do Star Wars on it? Let me know. Yeah. What are your pitch ideas? If you are a person that knows more about Star Wars, what would you do? What is your idea of how you would go ahead and pitch a brand new Star Wars story to Disney? Or if you're like me, a waist deep fan of Star Wars, what is your pitch idea? Let me know in the comments below, and I will see you in a bit. My name is Goose. It's been great talking to you guys. Stay safe out there. Drink some water. I'll see you soon. Bye.